Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I wanted to share with you one of the episodes that I was a guest on for someone else's podcast. I always talk about how important it is to build a media company. One of the next best things you could do is be on somebody else's media company. So I had the pleasure of being a guest on this podcast, and I wanted to share a little snippet with you because it would help support the 8 business pillars we've really been trying to focus on with a lot more of our content and a lot more of the solo episodes that I'm doing. So make sure, of course, that you subscribe to our podcast, but of course you take some time out, check out the show notes and subscribe to the podcast that I've been featured on as well too, and get to learn about some of those 8 business pillars and how you can continue to kind of leverage and build that up so you can go from builder to architect to, of course, rock star and luminary. So this is Gresh signing out. I hope you enjoy this I Am CEO special episode. My name is Gresham Harkless Jr. You can call me Gresh as well too. And I am very much so a busybody. So I'm out of the Washington, D.C. area. If you're super familiar with the area, about 15 to 20 minutes away in Alexandria, Virginia. And really what I do, kind of the heart and soul of everything that it comes back to, is just helping people to be found online. So we have a digital marketing company called Blue 16 Media / Blue 16 Marketing, where we provide web support, maintenance, and help people to fix any issues related to their website, but also help out with SEO and making sure that they're found online. And at the heart of that, one of the big things that I say is that everybody is a media company and everybody's in the media business, whether you know it or not. So it all becomes asking yourself and asking your team a lot of times is, how do I create content and information so that I could serve the people that I want to see come through the door virtually or literally, depending on what type of business you have. And so my media company is called CB Nation. So I have a daily podcast, blog posts, video content, all to help CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners to succeed. So those are the two things that keep me pretty busy.
So now you're on the opposite side of the microphone.
I know, I know. I'm in the hot seat, so we'll have to see how that fares.
Sometimes this is a hot seat, but that's a different story. When I introduced our topics and said CEO hacks, all of a sudden I read it a little differently because hack used to be a derogatory term, but that's not how you meant it. So explain what you mean by hacks.
Yes, absolutely. So CEO hacks comes a lot from the life hacks that people have used in their life to kind of get further along on their journey to where they want to be. Hack is not in the sense of being a hacker. It's in the sense of like how you can find and shortcut opportunities to kind of be more effective and efficient. So I define CEO hacks as apps, books, habits, software. They might even be organizations, but they're different things that help you get further along the journey, help you to be more effective and efficient, help you to maximize the time that you have in your day, because just like probably many of your listeners, I've tried to get 25 or more hours out of a day. It doesn't happen as well. So it all depends on like how you're leveraging the time that you have. So the CEO hacks are those tangible things that allow you to be able to do that more effectively and efficiently.
Would you accept the use of the term shortcuts?
To some degree, shortcuts. I think that the only thing I would say about shortcuts is, even though I even used it, is I think the whole idea of a hack is that it enhances some of the things that you're doing. It's not necessarily cutting short, it's just maximizing. So I think sometimes when you hear shortcut, you think that I'm going to do it easier, or I'm not going to do it all the way, or do it as effectively, or do it completely. But in reality, you're just enhancing sometimes the things that you're already doing.
I like to tell people that everyone is a CEO. You're the CEO of your domain, of your fiefdom. If you're an executive assistant, you're in charge of your desk. If you're a marketing director, you're in charge of your desk. Is there anything that we are going to discuss today that would be solely within the domain or purview of a CEO?
No, I don't think so. Just as you said so well. I mean, I think we could really look at CEO being more of a perspective or more mentality, or even aspirational, as I like to define it. So if you are within any role, even if you're a mom or you're a dad or you're a brother or sister, whatever it is, I think to some degree taking ownership of the things that you have in front of you is really what I think is at the core of being a CEO.
For obvious reasons, I'm going to start with a question about books. Years ago, when I was at a nonprofit, we had a board retreat. Now, usually with a retreat, you go someplace else. We went into the boardroom. So it wasn't that much of a retreat. And the keynote speaker was a futurist. And one of the first things he said was he doesn't like the word retreat because you're not retreating, you're advancing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, everybody says that. But he gave us a bibliography of books, and I bought them all, and I read them all. And I found valuable information. But one of the things that I read afterwards was an article, I don't remember where they said there's a problem with business books. Because whatever is the book du jour, everybody jumps on the bandwagon. We got to do this. It's got to be done this way. And then 3 months later, another book comes out. That's the number one bestseller. Well, now we're going to do things that way. How do you avoid that?
I think one of the biggest things, and this kind of goes back to like the idea of the CEO hacks, is it's very similarly where, especially now as we're having this conversation, AI is a really huge thing that people are talking about. They're talking about, all the things that you can do or can't do. The same thing as you were talking about with books. I think the way to avoid that is really to leverage the books or leverage the software, whatever it is that we're talking about to support the things that you're already doing. I think so many times we get shiny object syndrome because we see a new thing that we feel like we need to read, we need to listen to, we need to install, whatever it is, it's something new and it's sexy, it's popular, it's trending, whatever it is that's attracting us to it. But we often forget about the quote unquote race that we're running, quote unquote thing that we're trying to execute on and improving that. So I think the best way to kind of approach that is really our approach going into these things is saying, okay, if I'm doing X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C, why am I worried about W, O, P, and all these other things that are sexy, that are exciting, that I want to do when they're not core to the race that I'm running? So I think the very biggest, the most impactful thing we could do is ask ourselves, like, how can I improve the things that I'm doing on a daily basis? Does this new book help me to do that? Does the strategies that are presented in this book help me to do that? If it doesn't, then maybe that's something you can kick to, another year or something like that. But at the end of the day, try to enhance the things that you're doing.
I was laughing when you were doing the alphabet because when I would be babysitting friends' kids, I would give them what I call the Bruce timeout, which was the youngest one had to stand on one foot, let's say the left foot, and recite the alphabet forward. Yeah. And the youngest one, or the oldest one, or a parent, all right, if the parent had also gotten me mad, I would say, now you have to stand on the opposite foot and recite the alphabet backwards. And they could never do it. And they would get so frustrated. It was beautiful. But anyways, you reminded me of good times. You mentioned AI. Now, with AI, people ask me, because I'm a professional writer, if I was going to use AI, and I said, absolutely not. Because when you have a new software coming out, and this happened to everybody who has ever bought a computer, has purchased a brand new, fresh out of the box, now figuratively, but used to be literally, a piece of software, the first thing that happens is you have to upload updates. And then they make all the corrections, and a year later, you've got the software that doesn't have the bugs in it. So that was the first reason why I said no to AI. I was also concerned about ethical problems, copyright issues. I said, I don't want to get into it now. I'll use what I call RHI, real human intelligence. And that way there, so I mean, you have lawyers now using AI to submit briefs in court, and the cases that are cited are phony. In AI, as I'm sure you know, it's called hallucinations. I've caught quotations that didn't make any sense to me. I did a search for the book. Book didn't exist. In one case, I had the book. I double checked that it was the right edition. Quote wasn't there. It didn't. So I explained that the AI lies. It's called hallucinations. How do you recommend CEOs work with AI in a way that they will avoid embarrassments and lawsuits?
That's a great question. And if it's okay, Bruce, I'm going to borrow from you. It's not a hallucination or anything. I'm
Okay.
going to say that if you have AI mixed with RHI, that's really the great way to try to leverage AI, I think. And it kind of goes back to what I talked about and why I was hesitant to say like these CEO hacks or these things that are out there are shortcuts. And I think when you have the mentality that it is going to be a shortcut, you will start to upload a prompt or say you want X, Y, and Z or this specific thing, or you want this specific quote, or you want this brief, and you won't go through and do the RHI part, which is actually to understand that you need to be the person or you need to have a person that is actually looking through this information. So to answer your question, I think really the best way to use a lot of these tools is kind of like an intern, really, because you may not get exactly what the things are that you're looking for, but before it goes live or before you send it out or before you stand in court and speak about it or speak to it, whatever it might be, you have at least done that human intelligence part and start to understand exactly what it's saying and make sure that it again is in support of the things that you're trying to do. And I think what's happening with AI is that people are really excited because they can literally write in two sentences or less than two sentences and they can get pages and pages of content and information, but they're not really understanding if that content and information is supporting what they're doing, or like you said, it's going to leave you in a place where you become that laughing stock. So I think the best way to do it is to approach it a lot like it's an intern, a really, really intelligent intern, but an intern that does make mistakes and is not imperfect, so that you can, at the end of the day, start to enhance the things that you're doing, not replace or take that shortcut towards it.
I like that analogy to an intern. Uh, you can use my RHI and I will use your intern.
Deal.
When you wrote in, you mentioned one of the hacks, habits. Now, I'm a big believer in habits because if you establish a habit, you're also creating neural pathways in your brains and that in your brain, and that's the way you're going to do it. So expand on that a bit about how you know that a habit is something you want to keep. You know that it's good, but how do you know it's not something that needs to be changed?
I think that's a great question. And I think first, we have to sometimes remember that we all have habits. Whether or not they're habits that you want or they're habits or not, that's a whole different conversation. But I think so many times, we'll hear or we'll see people that are really, dedicated in the gym or they're dedicated at work or they're doing all the things that maybe we aspire to do. And we say that they have something that we don't, but we all have habits. Even if the habit is to start something and not continue, that in and of itself can be a habit. So I think the first thing is to accept that and to understand that. And then I think you answer the simple question of, are you doing the things that you want to do to get to whatever that goal is? So whatever your goal might be, whether it be going to the gym, whether it might be getting that promotion, or it might be having a seven-figure business, are you doing the things on a regular basis that can lead you to that? And if you're not, or if you're not achieving that, or you're not seeing the things that you hope to see, that's when you want to start to look at your habits. Look at the things not that you're doing, once a year. You want to look at things that you're doing on a daily basis and seeing what they're doing to get you to that place. And that's where I think there's really, exciting ways that you can kind of, hack yourself. And I mean that in a different way now so that you can get to where you want to be. But I think it's so important to understand that you can make those changes and we all have those habits. It's just a matter of kind of re-engineering yourself and working backwards so that you can reach the goal that you want to reach.
Now, I used to have habits for setting up appointments and posting on social media. And then it became too much for me. So I use Bookify for as my scheduling app and Zoho for my social media posting. With Zoho, I think it's 3 months. You can schedule them 3 months in advance and then forget about it. Is that a good example of a habit being transferred to an app?
I think that is a perfect example of that. And that's exactly what I call the CEO hacks. Like the idea of giving somebody a scheduling link that is maybe booking something from a different time zone and you don't have to do the back and forth. And that allows you to take that time and put it into your zone of genius. That's the definition of the CEO hack, being able to kind of schedule social media posts. Again, it doesn't have the same impact as a lot of times if you're posting natively on these platforms. But again, you start to weigh, okay, I only have this much time and I really want to get this done. And I believe that getting this done is going to be impactful. So why don't I schedule it ahead? So using Zoho, using Hootsuite, there's lots of different platforms out there. Even Meta has different ways that you can schedule within its own site as well too. But again, being able to kind of leverage and maximize your time because it allows you more time to spend in your zone of genius, so that you don't have to worry about things that I do, which is often like, did I book at the right time? Because I'm really bad as my own assistant. And I often will show up an hour late or an hour early if I don't have that booking link. You don't have to worry about those things because let the software take care of it.
I was speaking to a lady who was trying to book to be on the podcast. And I said, you just go to the website and just put it in. And she did it. She apologized. She said that, it was a bad day. And I said, don't worry, you have nothing to apologize for. And then I told her that when I become king of the world, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all the time zones. Everybody will be on the same time. Some of us will sleep at 1 a.m. and some of us will work at 1 a.m., but it's going to be 1 a.m. because I'm fed up with this nonsense. I have people in Australia who are very upset that I do this at 2:30 in the afternoon Eastern time because I forget what it is. It's early in the morning in Australia. The next day.
Yes. Well, Bruce, you got my vote.
I mean,
You got my vote. You got my vote. If that's your campaign, I'm in.
that's my campaign. I keep it simple. One issue. I must ask, what is CB Nation? Citizens Band? No.
It's so CBNation is it's short for CEO Blog Nation, which is one of the first sites that I have. So
Oh,
I combined it together for CB Nation, but that's what houses all the blogs, the podcasts, the video content for CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners. So that's pretty much the umbrella of all the things that you can find to kind of help you to level up.
the only thing I could think of was Citizens Band, which was Citizens Band Radio. Uh,
uh,
okay, let's move on. You wrote that that the whole idea is to increase effectiveness and efficiency with CEO hacks. How do you create a hack? You
I
got a
think you
problem, you need a solution.
I think that there's sometimes not a very quick way to kind of do that, because I think the CEO hacks truly become a CEO hack when it's implemented and executed and it works in terms of your workflow. So honestly, a lot of what I've experienced, like I use a different scheduling software. So I use Acuity for my scheduling. I've tested out Calendly, I've tested out many things. And sometimes when you start to use these softwares, you realize that it does one thing that you wish that it didn't do, or vice versa. You wish that it do that when whatever it is, you start to test out these different softwares, these hacks, these different things to be more effective and efficient. So I think it really goes to another level, not when it's just I think that's one of the kind of bridges that people have to cross over, is because when you see and read all the benefits, you hear or see a commercial, you're like, I could really use that. But when you get that in front of you, you're putting that into your workflow, you're trying to execute on it, it doesn't quite do exactly what you thought it would do. And that's where I think that we want to try to bridge that gap towards the teaching people how to actually leverage this on a way to be more effective and efficient. Because a hack is to me not so much a hack if it's just saying laying there as a software. It's a hack when it's implemented into your workflow and you're able to really use it to help you to save that time. So it's all in the execution. It's all in how you're going to implement this into your workflow. And for a lot of people and a lot of organizations and personal individuals, even that's going to depend. So you sometimes just have to try it, implement it, do it on a very low risk, low cost way, and a lot of times, and then you're able to kind of see if it works or if it doesn't work, and it actually is, saving you that time. Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh again, and I hope you enjoyed that special episode of the I Am CEO podcast. Just like I mentioned in the beginning, we're really trying to laser focus on these 8 pillars to show you as a builder how you can leverage these 8 pillars and really level up there so it helps to level up your business and organization. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and definitely please check out the show notes so you can learn more about the pillar, learn more about the person that I guested on their episode, and of course learn a little bit more about us as well too. This is Grass signing out. I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.